What?
The festival.
Service on the Piccadilly and Northern Line and good service.
My name's Peter. I'm an animator at Westminster University. I'm in my final year, working on my graduate film. Luckily finished my dissertation, that's out of the way. My main interest is animation, filmmaking. I like to draw, play football occasionally when I'm not injured. It's like, kind of like a butterfly, sort of, it's a sensation, it's weird, it's sort of like, if you imagine it's a tingling sensation, annoying sensation, sort of under your skin. It's irritating. It's like it comes at you in clusters. So you'll be fine, and then you sort of feel like sort of tension in a certain area, and you feel like really compelled to sort of move your arm, or sort of like move your neck, or whatever, wherever the tick is, and sort of to relieve the uncomfortableness, whatever, if that's even a word. In secondary school, people would notice that I would blink a lot. And I'd get a bit of stick for that, you know, just a little remark, or people would sort of wink at me, and I'd be like, okay. I just used to rise above it. I wasn't sort of a social outcast or anything. I've always been quite good with people. For me, I used to have a vocal tick, as I mentioned, where I'd feel the need to sort of burst out, sort of with noise, so sort of like boom, boom, and that eventually turned into beatboxing, and that developed from there, and that really satisfied me, because obviously Tourette's is in sort of like a clustering effect, so I could just keep on beatboxing and until the tics would sort of disappear. So I'd be walking down the street and I didn't care. I was just beatboxing. People looked at me like I was mad. And I was like, what's this boy doing? But yeah, that turned into a sort of talent, I guess. Okay, so I'd get this request a lot. So our beatboxing is, you know, you start off with layers. So it'd be something like, and then you'd add, and then, it's been a while since I've done this.
Tourette's Action is a registered charity for anyone who has Tourette's syndrome, has somebody with Tourette's syndrome in their family, or has a friend with Tourette's, or perhaps a pupil in their class. So it's a resource for teachers or families, anybody who'd like to find out more about Tourette's, or who has a question, or perhaps who needs some support with dealing with the symptoms. We also run camps for children and support groups, because sometimes Tourette's can be quite isolating, so knowing that you're not the only one can be really helpful, and also knowing how other people cope with the symptoms of Tourette's can be helpful. So we do organise things for people to get together socially. Okay, it's quite a difficult question, because Tourette's affects people very differently. So you might find that somebody with very mild Tourette's actually has a really hard time, because perhaps their family's not so accepting, or perhaps it's a child whose school doesn't know how to cope with the symptoms, or somebody whose colleagues find it really difficult at work. So while their symptoms might be quite mild, actually the impact on their life is pretty big. So they might say that their Tourette's is really bad for them. Whereas you might get somebody who's got really severe symptoms, and actually the family's really supportive, their friends don't really blink when they tick, and the workplace are really supportive. So actually the impact on them is probably less. Although the tics can have physical effects, so you might find somebody with Tourette's who punches themselves or punches walls. You can break bones. There are instances of Tourette's where people have broken bones, or perhaps they blink so much that it does damage to the eyes, or they do damage to their neck from the head movements. So it really depends on the kind of Tourette's you have and how society reacts to your particular version of Tourette's that can make a huge difference. It depends. Some parents find it very difficult to cope with the initial diagnosis because there is this stereotype of people with Tourette's as somebody without a job, usually male in their 50s, swearing a lot and being the kind of person that doesn't fit into society's norms. But when parents find out that actually they're all different types of Tourette's and it might be so mild that their child might just stay with some eye blinking, some sniffing, some throat clearing, once they find that out, that in fact only 10% of people with Tourette's have coprolalia, which is the swearing side, it's often a huge relief to them. A lot of families find as they get used to getting creative with how they manage the symptoms, it becomes less of a big deal and it's still the same child they had right before the diagnosis. And what people are scared of is a stereotype, and it's not like that for everybody. That is something that's come up actually quite frequently. There's something about Tourette syndrome that makes people think slightly differently. People with Tourette's can be very creative, can be very musical. There's something about the rhythm of music and the focusing on music that actually gives some temporary relief from the tics. So a lot of people find that whether it's singing, playing the piano or playing drums can actually really help to give them a bit of respite. So that's why we run drumming workshops. Over the next 3 years we'll be running 6 a year for young people with Tourette's. It's an opportunity to meet other people but also to have a stab at drumming and see how it goes. But we do find a lot of people with Tourette's are a bit arty or otherwise creative, and that's something as well that teachers could be aware of, to find that special thing that the child with Tourette's is good at and really draw that out in them. Yeah, we've had children attend our camps who have been incredibly shy to start off with and then started to show leadership skills along the way, and eventually they've ended up giving talks to their local youth groups, to the local police, telling them about Tourette's. So things that they'd never imagined that they would do. And these are children who were too scared to talk about their Tourette's, and suddenly they meet other people with Tourette's and realise, you know, they are normal, it's okay, and get the confidence to be able to be who they are, not just a kid with Tourette's, who they are underneath that.